Mike. With me as always, Eric. And today we're going to talk about holiday drinking. We've got some pretty kick-ass Christmas sweaters here to set you up. But Thanksgiving's right around the corner as well, and there's always a great question about what wine should I drink with Thanksgiving dinner. We'll talk about our sponsor.
Today's sponsor is Designated Drivers for You.
Also very important, if you're out during the holidays and you're doing a little drinking, get a designated driver, designateddriversforyou.com.
Exactly.
All right, so one of the great things about wine is sharing it with your friends and your family, and there's no better time to do that than the holidays. But we know that if you can bring the right wine to pair with the right food, it makes the experience even more magical than it could be. So we're going to talk about options for pairing with Thanksgiving dinner, and it works for Christmas as well. So I think the first thing to talk about is you're going to eat a huge meal. What goes great before a huge meal? An aperitif.
Always.
Always. And you know my go-to aperitif.
I know your go-to.
Which is Lillet.
Lillet, yeah.
I love me some Lillet.
Had a whole episode on that. Check it out.
However, I think what's probably a better solution for bringing to a Thanksgiving dinner or a Christmas dinner is some bubbles. You know, bring some champagne. I actually probably would go with maybe a cava or a prosecco, because you can get really phenomenal cavas and proseccos at a fraction of the cost of a good champagne. But it's great to start off the dinner with some sort of an aperitif, some bubbles. Then we get into the meal, right? The eating. So one of the things about your Thanksgiving feast is it's very fatty, right? There's a lot of fat in that dinner. You know, you got the turkey meat, especially the dark meat, it's very fatty. Tons of butter, tons of cream, gravy, stuffing made with butter, mashed potatoes and butter. There's just a lot of fat. So an awesome wine to bring would be something that had a really, really strong acidity that could balance out the fat. And we're drinking a wine actually that's got some acidity to it. What are we drinking today, E?
So today we're drinking this Malvasia Bianca from Caduceus Winery in Arizona, and it's an interesting winery. It was actually started by the singer in the band Tool, Keenan. And funny thing about him, he put some vines in the ground, started growing wines there out in Arizona, and then he learned from a friend that his ancestors have been growing wines like forever in northern Italy.
Yeah.
And so it's totally in his blood. He didn't know it when he got started, but it totally was bitten by the wine bug. And this wine in particular, the Malvasia Bianca grape, can be made into both very light, sweet wines as well as more full-bodied, dry white wines. So I haven't tested this one yet, but
it's decent.
I'm not sure where this falls on the spectrum.
And I'll tell you what, you know what I really like about this winery is that there's a lot of rock and roll people who buy wineries as like an ego thing, right? But this guy actually is legit, and he really is experimenting with a lot of obscure varietals and really trying to do something magical and spectacular.
And also he's doing it in Arizona, which
is
a bit.
It's rare, and the winery's cool. If you've never been,
I've never been.
It's Jerome. It's on the side of the hill. It's pretty neat. Anyway, so this might be an okay wine. This is a little light on the acid, I think, for what we're trying to do though for Thanksgiving dinner. So I want to talk a little bit about two options: red and white. And if you've watched any of the food pairing videos, you know that white wines pair just as good, if not better, with a lot of foods that you wouldn't expect. So,
I think actually we've been consistently surprised with that. I think both our bacon episode, the double-double,
yeah,
you know, most of us ended up going with a white wine, whereas in my experience, you know, typically it would be red with the meats.
But, you would think you're red. So that's a great segue. And what one with the double-double episode?
Yeah, I think that was a Riesling that
everyone loved it, and Riesling would be an awesome wine at Thanksgiving dinner. It's got that high minerality, bright acidity. It would go really, really nicely. I would go with a dry style Riesling, though not a sweet one. I don't think you want the sugar overpowering it. The other white wine that I think would go ridiculously well at Thanksgiving dinner is a Chenin Blanc. You know, Chenin has, like Riesling, it's a very, very good food pairing wine, and it's very powerful. You get one from like Vouvray or Sauvignon, northern France, and it's going to have that same strong acidity. and it'll go wonderfully well. And I would encourage you, you want to try something crazy this year, bring a Vouvray to Thanksgiving dinner. It'll blow some people's minds. Now we should talk about reds. Because red's kind of like what you would expect, right?
That's kind of the go-to thing, right?
So I think what we want for Thanksgiving, going with our acid theme, right? That pretty much rules out everywhere but Europe, right? There's no...
It definitely rules out California.
Definitely California. Well, there's a couple places in
Well,
California,
okay,
right? Santa
okay.
Barbara
Well,
or whatever. So, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, let's stay away from Australia, South America, the U.S., and let's go to the old world. Go to Europe.
So you're thinking Italy or France?
Italy, France, or Germany, although Germany doesn't do a lot of reds. But I would say let's go to France. And I've got two recommendations here which I think would go beautifully well. So the other thing, besides the acid, we want a wine that's not really overpowering. You know, like a Cabernet is so overpowering, Merlot is so overpowering. We want something that's a little lighter. It's going to complement the food and not blow it out of the water. So I would say a Chinon would be fantastic. Chinon's Cabernet Franc. It's grown northern France. It's high in acid, but it's delicate
And it's also affordable. It's like under $20 for a kick-ass Chinon.
for kick-ass Chinon,
Yeah.
yeah. And that, I think if you were to pair that, a Chinon, with Thanksgiving dinner, I think it would blow some people's minds.
Absolutely.
You know, it would be just the right amount of strength and acid, but not overpowering. It would go beautifully. And then the other recommendation, I would maybe go with the Syrah. Let's go to the Rhone Valley, and let's go to the northern Rhone, where they grow some delightful Syrahs. And I would maybe go with San Joseph. The San Joseph Syrahs, kind of on the left side of the Rhone River. In my mind, they have just this elegance and this delicate nature to them, but strong acidity, and they have a real gaminess about them. Like a smoky bacon almost, that I think would just go beautifully with turkey.
If we're thinking Italy instead of France, what do you think about a Nebbiolo or Sangiovese?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You know, Nebbiolo would certainly have the acid, but I think the Nebbiolo tannins might be a little overpowering for like turkey and mashed potatoes.
Okay.
But I think a Chianti would go well. Maybe a Brunello.
Right.
You know, a Sangiovese I think would go delightfully well. Or you could get, you know, crazy and do like a Nero d'Avola or something. But I think if you kind of keep those two main concepts in mind, we want something with some acid and we want something that's not overpowering. There's a lot of options available to you. But there's a handful of them for you. As always,
30 seconds of craziness. Today is brought to you by, gotta check the cue card here, Slainte.
Slainte.
Can't even read your handwriting, like. Made Behind the Bar is the song.
Cheers.